I never thought I'd post something like this, but I haven't been able to stop thinking about it for the past few weeks. I need to put it somewhere, maybe just to get it out of my head. Maybe someone out there will understand what I mean. So for context, I've worked as a traveling technician for about 6 years now. I fix things, mostly industrial stuff, water heaters, control panels, weird equipment in out-of-the-way places. You'd be surprised how many tiny companies run out of middle-of-nowhere buildings and still have fully automated systems they barely understand. A few months ago, my company got contracted by a regional facility somewhere in northern Indiana. I won't name it for obvious reasons, but it was a kind of research and testing company, not medical or military, just vague. They said they were having issues with their internal door systems and environmental sensors. I was supposed to stay 2 nights and fix what I could. When I arrived, the place was weird. Not bad, just sterile. No logo on the outside, no clear indication of what they did. It looked like an office park from the outside, with a long driveway leading into a building that went deeper than it looked. Think of a low, flat structure that almost disappears into the land around it. The parking lot had maybe a dozen cars. No security gate, just a buzzer at the door. A man in a grey uniform met me inside. No name tag, no handshake, just "You're the tech guy." I said yeah, and he nodded for me to follow. No tour, no intro, just straight down a tiled hallway and into a control room. Everything felt off, like it had been built to resemble a normal place, but whoever designed it didn't quite understand how people actually behave. The control room looked like it was built in the late 90s. CRT monitors, old switches, plastic labels peeling off panels. The guy handed me a checklist and said, "Just get through what you can, stay out of the lower levels." I thought it was a joke, so I smirked and said, "All right, what's down there? Monsters?" He didn't laugh, he just looked at me for a second and said, "Just don't go below level 3. That stuck with me more than I wanted it to. The first night was normal. I replaced some cracked sensor housings, ran diagnostics on a door control system, and checked a couple of temp regulators in utility corridors. The building was much larger on the inside than the outside had suggested. Corridors stretched forever, always lined with plain grey doors marked with numbers or letters I didn't recognize.
What started to bother me wasn't the size, though. It was the sound, or lack of it. No fans, no air hum, just silence, broken only by the occasional pop of an old fluorescent bulb or the click of my boots on the vinyl floor. Even in buildings with no people, there's usually some ambient noise, but here, it was like the walls swallowed sound. At around 10 p.m., I wrapped up for the night. They gave me a keycard for the guest room upstairs, a basic dorm-style room with a bed, small desk, and private bathroom. No clock, no phone, just a small humming mini fridge with water bottles inside. I laid down around midnight, scrolling my phone, but the Wi-Fi was practically useless. I kept hearing soft, mechanical sounds from behind the walls, like servos or gears turning. I figured it was automated equipment, or maybe old HVAC systems kicking in. Then, sometime around 2 a.m., I heard something else. It wasn't mechanical. It was a voice, muffled. Maybe 2 voices. I sat up and listened. The sound wasn't coming from the hallway, though. It was coming from beneath me. The room was carpeted, but I pressed my ear to the floor, I swear to God. I could hear someone talking under the floorboards. The words weren't clear, more like a rhythm of syllables than actual speech, and it went on for a while. I tried to sleep anyway. I didn't want to overthink it. It was late. I was alone, and this job was already creeping me out. The next day, I brought it up casually to the same guy, the one who'd greeted me. I asked if there were staff working late shifts. He looked at me, paused, then said, "Just focus on your tasks. We don't use this building 24/7, which
didn't make sense, because I definitely heard voices. Anyway, I spent the day working on the level 2 sensor grid. A few panels were unresponsive, so I had to follow the wiring down into maintenance shafts. These shafts ran parallel to the main corridors and were barely wide enough for a person to crawl through. While I was inside, I found a small side hatch that wasn't on my blueprint. It wasn't locked, just a basic handle. I opened it. Behind the hatch was a narrow concrete stairwell. It led down. Now, I know what you're thinking. Don't go down there, you idiot. But I'm a tech. If something's broken, I fix it. Curiosity is part of the job. So I took a flashlight and started down the steps. The air changed quickly. It got colder, not dramatically, but noticeably. The stairs ended at a plain metal door. No markings. I tapped the card key on it. The lock light turned green. The room beyond was... I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't finished. Bare concrete, low ceilings, exposed wiring, and yet lights were on. Buzzing, flickering, and in the middle of the room were a dozen folding chairs arranged in a circle. Each had a number taped to the back. 3, 7, 9, 12, 12, 12. I froze. 3 of the chairs had the same number. Why? I took a step inside. The lights buzzed louder. Then I noticed the floor. It was wet. Not puddles, not leaks, just damp. Like condensation, but too uniform. And the air smelled like burnt plastic. That's when I heard a dragging sound. Not fast, not frantic, just slow, deliberate, from somewhere deeper in the dark, beyond the lit area. I didn't stick around. I backed out, closed the hatch, and sealed it with a zip tie from my tool bag. I don't know why I did that. It wouldn't stop anyone or anything, but it made me feel better. Like putting a lock on a nightmare. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing that dragging sound in my head. Around 3 a.m., the light under my door flickered. I got up to check, but when I opened the door, the hallway was completely dark. All the lights were off. I went back inside and locked the door. When I left the next morning, no one said goodbye. No one asked what I found. They just signed my work order and said I'd be paid by direct deposit. The guy who'd greeted me on day 1 didn't even make eye contact. Here's the weirdest part. A week later, I tried to log that job into our system, just to keep my records clean, but the location ID? Gone, like it had been deleted. The work order number didn't exist anymore. I even asked our dispatch team, and they had no idea what I was talking about. But I still have the key card. It's blank. No logo, no name. Just a red stripe across the top, and a faint smell of ozone when I hold it close. I don't know what that place was. I don't want to know. But if you ever take a contract job out in the middle of nowhere and they tell you not to go below a certain level, don't. Just don't.